Well, Jason, hoping to get to
Yes.
6 wins leads us right into a topic that, Jason, of
That's
course,
why I
you
said
brought up.
that.
Yes, Jason. What?
That's why I said that. That
It
was the
was well
tease.
done. Yes. And so I was
Mhm.
making the segue without you pointing out to everyone that I was making the segue. All right. 6.5 wins is what Vegas says. I don't believe we've got ties anymore in college football.
No.
So people can either win money or lose money. No pushes here. 6.5. 6.5, Jason. You going over or under?
I mean, the optimist in me said 7-5 when we did when the schedule came out and we did our way too early predictions. And as the season goes on, we'll make our predictions. Do I think Florida State has the talent to go had to win 7 games or more this season? Yeah, I absolutely do, and I don't think that's being the biased Florida State crowd. I think that's just looking at the facts. I think once again, it's going to all depend on that first month. That first game in August and those first 3 games in the month of September. If Florida State can get through, I can't believe I'm going to utter these words. If Florida State can get through Duquesne, LSU, Louisville, I know. It made me sick to say that, James. I know. If Florida State can get through Duquesne, LSU, Louisville, and Wake Forest at, let's just say, being optimistic, 3-1. I think Florida State is in a very good shape at that point, knowing that you'll still have, I apologize, Boston College, not Wake Forest. Boston College is the 4th game of the season. So if you get through that stretch right there, Boston College, Louisville, LSU, and Duquesne, it's reasonable. Florida State could get through that 3-1. I think that's very optimistic at that point because you still have Syracuse left. You still have Georgia Tech left. You still have Florida and Miami left. And I think Florida State at least splits one of those games this season. So there is a chance at that point. What Florida State cannot do is cannot struggle early. Florida State cannot go crap the bed against LSU and then go up on a Friday night and get worked by Louisville. Could Florida State get worked by Louisville? Absolutely. Could Florida State get spanked by LSU? Absolutely. But it's going to all depend on that first month of the season.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of optimism, I think, after the spring and what the staff saw. But I think around that 7-win range is most likely what this team may be. I mean, if they get to that 8 and then you're able to compete and win a bowl game too, and you land on 9, and that's big for Florida State and recruiting and such. But this team is going to be, I think, carried by Florida State's defense. And, it's kind of always been a flip-flop of inconsistency between both sides sometimes. But I do think this defense is going to probably be that strong point of this team overall heading into the 2022 season. I think there's definitely weapons on Florida State's offense. I think that running back room is what's going to carry that offense. But from what we saw, at least the spring, it was dominant fashion. And I don't know if that's just because of Florida State's sheer talent there and veterans with Fabian Love and Robert Cooper causing that havoc. And then you've got Jared Verse coming in to practically replace what Jermaine Johnson had last year, and even younger caliber player too, which is even scarier to think of. And you've got Derek McLendon. I think this defense is definitely going to carry to where, a good defense usually can bring you to a good amount of wins. You just got to hope it's a little bit better than a bowl game. Game of 6.
Logan, I have to ask. I'm
Yep.
sorry. I have to ask. And I know that we've joked about this, that you were the eternal optimist amongst the 4 of us here on Florida State Live. Please tell me the 8 wins Florida State can get this season. Because I think let's be honest here.
I said 7. Did I not just say 7?
You said 7. You said 7.
Then you get the bowl game win.
You threw 8 out there. You said 9 with a bowl game. So
that's what I was saying. If it gets crazy,
legitimately asking. I mean, I think on paper right now, I think we lose to Clemson. I can see us losing to either Louisville or LSU. I think we lose to NC State because we're never going to win in Raleigh ever again. And I think we drop. And I think we drop another game that we probably should. I think that's where I think there's at least 5 losses in there. So that's my question to you: is what do you see? What are you seeing that I am not seeing? Where is that source of optimism for you?
Well, like I said, 7 wins is what
8.
I was
You threw
predicting.
8.
I said if they get a bowl game win, then you're at 8.
You said 8, and then a bowl game was
then
9.
if you win 8, then you win the bowl game and you get 9.
Mark,
then
rewind the tape.
It was recruiting.
Rewind the tape.
I was talking about recruiting and what it does for it, but I'm not. Florida State should have dominated NC State last year. What happened? Jordan Travis wasn't on the field. You were working with Mackenzie Milton. That was atrocious. You were still trying to run the same offense that Jordan Travis runs, which was just that's what you get. And NC State looked awful to me. I know they got a good quarterback. You know, we're thinking of the future for him. You know, you are getting Durden. Durden's Durden's on that defensive line for NC State.
First team all ACC.
That's right.
And
That's right.
They have Dave Dorian.
Watch out.
Dave Dorian, Mark's favorite head coach in the ACC.
Great guy. Really great guy.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, great guy. But, yeah, that game shouldn't have been close. But you just didn't have Jordan Travis out there. I think – and, I mean, I don't even want to talk about Jackson State. I mean, those should have been 2 added wins last year. And it sucks because you didn't have your – you had a really bad call on defense and not really too pitiful. You could have tackled, blah, blah, blah. But Jordan Travis, too, on NC State's side of things, that would have been a whole different game in my opinion. I mean, it even got close to them winning that game. But you could just tell you can't run the same damn offense with Jordan Travis and give it to Mackenzie Milton like that and expect him to do the same thing. I don't know. That season's long gone and over.
Florida State was
Yes, it is.
Florida State was competitive last season. Let's just be honest. So you beat a Miami team that qualified for a bowl game. You beat a Boston College team that I believe qualified for a bowl game. You went to overtime with a Notre Dame team. So there were shining light out there. But I guess I look at a team and I'm concerned about building up this hope, saying, "Oh, Florida State's going to get 7 wins. Florida State's going to get 8 wins." And then we go out and lose to a Louisville team. We go out and lose to a Wake Forest team, and all of a sudden you're going to NC State at 2-3, and you're like, "Oh, well,
yeah." That was a different season. So, Jason, let me pose it this way before James jumps in. Let me pose it this way. You're sounding like there's a ton of teams on Florida State's schedule that they can't beat. Like it's loaded with Alabama and Texas A&M and all these other teams. I'm looking at a schedule where the ceiling's really high and the floor is really low because this is the ACC, and take out Clemson for a second. Mm-hmm. Aren't all these teams about Wake Forest, Boston College, Louisville? Like, I don't know who's going to win any of these games.
Right, but no. Along those lines, does Florida State have the talent? Like I've said this before.
They have the talent to win any of these games.
I've made fun of Miami before, but the same thing can be said for Florida State. Florida State has the talent to beat Wake Forest on October 1st. But this is also a Wake Forest team that beat the hell out of us by 21 points last year. This is and I get what Logan's saying about the Mackenzie Milton versus Jordan Travis. I get that and I understand that. What I need is last season I said Florida State would win at least 7 games, and Florida State went 5-7. What I'm saying is we've spent these years saying Florida State's going to be better. And then they go out there and they don't live up to that potential. So that's why I am a little bit cautious. I pray to God Florida State goes 8-4, 9-3. I pray to God in heaven that happens. I'm just being a realist that step 1, beat Duquesne on August 27th. Then we can focus from there. That needs to be our number 1 step. Don't worry about Miami. Don't worry about Clemson. Don't worry about Wake Forest. Don't worry about anything else. Beat Duquesne.
I hear what you're saying, and you're 100% correct. That just makes for bad radio, though, like for the prediction show. Because the reality is what Mark said is 100% true, is that there's only one team on the schedule that from – I'll say 2, because to be honest with you, Miami was more talented than us last year. Mm-hmm. Miami deviated from what was good, and the problem is the coach that they have now, whether they want to admit it or not, does what they're not good at. Like, you have a quarterback that's probably going to be, that should be a Heisman contender, but you have a coach who has shown you nothing but ground and pound and try to play defense, and that's just what the reality is. But from a recruiting standpoint, they've out recruited. When I look at what Florida has done and what LSU has done in the last 2 years, it's the turnover that they have, not just in the coaching staff, it's the players who have left and what they brought in. So it's kind of diluted what they normally are on the SEC level. Florida is taking a long-term approach right now with Billy Napier, which is odd because you fired a guy because he wasn't winning quick enough, but you're hiring a guy, giving him the patience to build it the way you want to build it, and he moved out a lot of people. Now, the wild card is Anthony Richardson, and now that he'll be playing for an entire year, what will you get? But I think that same wild card is what Florida State played against, and which would be one of my critiques. And I think if you sat Mike down, he would tell you that's part of the reason why they took a strategy that they did. Last year, they should have the strategy they're taking this year, they should have taken last year. If you the time to not replace Jordan Travis would have been last year and let him and ride out with him. You do need an adequate replacement now, just in case something happens, even though he seems to be gaining weight. But you brought in a guy that you never saw throw. You brought in a guy who had all the hype and everybody wanted him to succeed and achieve, but he only had one leg. There was nothing that he could have done to be able. He shouldn't. It's amazing that he's walking, let alone trying to play football, and that's why you lost to North Carolina State. That's why you lost to Jacksonville State. When the reality is, you shouldn't have ever tried him out there. You should have tried a Jordan Track because he wasn't hurt. He ended up playing in that. No, not that game. The game after that. It's like you kept playing musical chairs with your quarterback. And one thing that people don't understand is, especially when you've got various heights and game plan strategies, it really throws you off. Like you've got a quarterback who's petite, and then you got a quarterback who's like 6'2", 6'3". And just even how the ball is leaving is completely different. So like you're as a wide receiver, everybody says wide receivers should catch the ball, but you're trying to catch the ball from two different throws. It's like a batter trying to hit somebody who's who can throw left or right. It's like you don't know what the hell is going on up there. Like you're being confused. So I think Mike has no choice but to dance with the lady he brings, which is Jordan Travis. Now that could really work well for him, which I hope it does. Or you're going to see the Duffy era begin. But even then, I still think that you at least know there's a level of certainty at the most key position that you haven't had to learn any of Norvell's tenure. You didn't have it during the COVID year because that's when we found out that Jordan Travis could actually play, and then you didn't have it last year because you kept playing musical chairs. Just put the quarterback out there and let the chips fall where they may. And if he keeps getting injured, then you know that you need to go ahead and move on with somebody who's not injured because the best ability is availability.